Moving from home to a senior living community is more than just a move. It's leaving behind memories. Downsizing means leaving behind familiar things. And some feel like it's leaving their independence. I'm your host, Valerie Borgman, and today we're talking with Tina Burrill about the emotional impact of this big move and some tips to help.
One of the descriptors for our work that we do should be counselor as well. Not only do we assist you with all of these tasks, but we're going to hold your hand. Maybe they've just suffered a loss. Maybe they've just had a medical situation.
Welcome to Desperately Seeking Senior Living, a podcast for sons, daughters, grandkids, and spouses who suddenly find themselves tangled in the search for senior living and care. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our doable download in today's show notes for a printable summary of the show and a bonus tip from our guest. You're listening to our doable tips, short answers to your questions. Don't see your question listed? Send us a note. Then don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an answer. What would you say is the number one question that families ask you the most?
Number one, how do I get started? Going through my home of many years, they're moving into a senior living community. What do I need? So that's a big one. A lot of times it's just, gee, in my brain, I'm 40. In my body, I'm not. So even if they have the drive or the vision or the know-how, it's just getting going. And sometimes there's a timeline, or there's so many things to consider than just downsizing.
Yeah. I love what you said. You said the word vision.
Mhm.
Is that decorating sense? And so they kind of know what they want, or is it an organization sense? What does that vision look like?
In certain circumstances, the vision can be, I've toured these different communities. I picked the one I want. I picked the apartment I want. I can see and visualize what I want in there, but I don't know how to make it happen. I wish I could, wriggle my nose like Samantha and,
And
you know,
bewitched. Yes.
yeah, it's all there
That would be awesome.
and it's set up. And so in some circumstances, I'll work with folks that they've got that eye, they've got the decorating piece. It's just the in between. I know I have to get a moving company to move stuff and this and that. I want to get to the fun part of setting up.
And starting your new adventure in your new place.
Right. So if they could see, I know I want my couch here, I want this here, I'm going to buy this for this, and I want these dishes and I want these pictures. And then when you start in the process, then maybe what they visualized isn't going to fit the way they thought they would.
What do you do in that circumstance? How do you have that conversation?
Right. Well, what we do in our goal as move managers and professional organizers is to preempt that as much as possible. So try to address some things that may or may not happen or what are typical, and, you know, kind of remind them that everything's normal. They're okay. I'm asked a lot, am I the worst? Am I the most clutter? No, you know,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Everyone feels like they're the worst.
oh my gosh, don't come in here. This is the worst. It's got to be the worst. But then we try to pre plan that and try to anticipate that and say, okay, we can draw a quarter-inch scale plan with your things so that the furniture pieces that are on the floor plan are yours, your piano, your sewing machine, grandmother's dress, or whatever it may be. So some of the things that happen for folks when they don't use a professional organizer or maybe try to do it on their own, if they are frustrated, they bring too much. And then they have to start eliminating. But when they move, they want to start living in the new space. But now this doesn't fit. That piece that was supposed to fit on that wall perfectly doesn't fit. There's a lot of things that you just don't think about. There's the linear feet, there's the depth.
That is math.
Yeah. So there's marrying all those pieces together, and then some things I hadn't considered, or repurposing things. That's kind of fun. Like a lot of those sofa tables that you walk into a room and you've got an open space and you've got this living area with these Davenports or love seats, and they have these beautiful pieces behind them with vase of flowers or all kinds of things, and they're lovely. Well, what am I going to do with this? Well, you could use that as your entertainment center. What if you put your TV on that? And they're narrow. They don't take up a lot of space and they're lightweight. Things like that that maybe had one function now can operate in another way. In a lot of cases, when you have to make room for a lot of walking aids, which is not a lot of fun to have to consider in some cases, but or anticipate some of those things happening along the way. And sometimes we lose that battle and I say, cram it all in. I want it all. Okay. I'm going to use it. I want it. Okay.
And you do your best.
I do.
Oh my gosh. I worked with a client and she was an artist and she did not want to get rid of her art. And I didn't blame her. And it was like, you know what? We have all this vertical space. And it wasn't maybe the designer way to do it, but she filled her walls with her art. And it was hers and she loved it and it was beautiful and she didn't have to get rid of those pieces. Do you feel like you're a support on an emotional level as well?
Oh, yeah. One of the descriptors for our work that we do should be counselor as well. And that's with, you know, love and affection. Not only do we assist you with all of these tasks, but we're going to hold your hand. We're there for the family too. You know, maybe they've just suffered a loss. Maybe they've just had a medical situation. So you just kind of have to respond to that, kind of examine the situation and say, okay, this is how we're going to move forward. And a lot of times you're just the coordinator, and that can be a real rewarding experience. You've got all the players, you've got all the people, and you're just saying you're working kind of with the needs of everybody. And that is the most rewarding part, is being able to help them. And I always tell them, this is not going to be perfect. It's going to be stressful. We try to take a lot of that burden off, but while you have to take care of all those not fun things, get your cable, change your address, get all of the other pieces put together, and then we can focus on your move. And the goal is, of course, to set up the new home so they can go to bed that night, unless it's a long distance move. But if it's a local move, get it set up so they can go to bed that night, wake up and have their coffee and their favorite mug, and try to honor their process and the way that they work every day. Get my paper or turn on the TV in my chair with this side table like this and this lamp. We try to do all of that, replicate that as much as possible. They're in a new space. They're figuring it out. They probably didn't get a lot of sleep. They're a little stressed out. And so we try to give them a little bit of comfort. That's the goal.
Yes. And I love what you said about counseling because, I mean, chances are that most of us have been through a move. And moving basically sucks, right? And I will just interject here that I am in the middle of still unpacking. I just went through a move, and thank you, Tina, for helping me.
You're welcome.
And I definitely had the deer in the headlights look. I know I did when you walked in. And so there is this huge stress surrounding a move. But what I love what you said about counseling is that we're working with seniors.
Yeah.
And so this is sometimes a move from a home they've been in for 60 years. Or this is a move that they lost their spouse
Mhm.
in that previous home.
Mhm.
And so, there are so many emotions that are more than just
Right.
the emotions of a move.
Right.
And I also love what you said about going, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but basically going at their pace
Mhm.
and just how they need to work, whether that's a physical need or what we were talking about with the emotional need. I really love that. What are some tips for families that are going through this right now?
Let them have some control. What can they control? Well, a lot of times, and I am not a licensed therapist or counselor, but what I've experienced in working with the dynamics of families is a lot of times the parent feels as though they've lost control. they can't drive, they can't, there's all these no, 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 don'ts. And they need to be in control and feel as though they're being heard and not being parented or bossed around or talked about, or things are being done without that, particularly the ones that are independent and can make those decisions. Don't get frustrated when you say something and they balk, and then I say something and, oh, that's great. Yeah, I just said that. Different coming from somebody else. It is just, that is just the way it is. Mainly the open communication is most important. If we have the pleasure of time, just kind of write out an outline. You know what the beginning is for the most part. You know where you're going to end up. So it's just marking down the steps, what are needed, giving yourself lots of time for sorting and all that, and then buffer time for unexpected appointments. And some of the stuff is evident. You need to move. You need to move some of the things.
Step one.
Step one. Maybe, and I would say in that sense, secure a moving company ASAP.
And speaking to that, I know some senior living communities have preferred moving companies because those movers know the building. And so then they don't have to go through all of that explanation or rules every time. Yeah.
Right. They do. They have some that they will refer, or in a lot of cases, they can call me. I can call the mover and I can start getting conversations going. I know the building maintenance person. So we can get some things happening behind the scenes. Once you know when you can move in, you're approved to move in, they've had the assessment, everything's good to go, get that mover.
Yes. And speaking about just what you said about getting things going behind the scenes, I love that they have that ability to pick and choose at the floor plan, like you were saying, or
Right.
we just need the unpacking. That's the part that we need help with. So
Yeah.
I really love that there are different sort of packages almost.
Right. Right.
Different ways that you can help.
Yeah. Realistically, what happens is when we go out on a consultation, we talk about what our services are, we give the full depth of what we can do. They ask questions, can you do this? Can you do that? Or what if I want, all the different things. And then in some cases they say, I've got that covered, but what I really need is this. Yeah, I had a lovely family help the dad transition in from kind of a cottage area on the campus into the building, more assisted living kind of care, and kind of a lot of counseling for the daughter, who was wonderful. And she really wanted all of her, particularly the floor planning and the packing and getting the movers and overseeing them, and then unpacking and setting up. She asked for some help with sorting and downsizing, and I just kind of counseled her through it, and she did it. She did all of it. And it was great. It was a wonderful collaboration.
I love that. A collaboration. Yes. Partnering with the families and helping everybody get through
Absolutely.
this really tough time.
And reminding families that it's a service. We're helping with not only the physical things, but we're helping planning and how to work with people with certain needs, and trying to honor that and look out for their best interests and think of things that they don't always think of. So they can focus on other things. Making sure that TV's up and going, because that is an important. That probably, I will say that when you ask the question about, consider the TV.
Yes, the TV.
How is that getting set up, and will it be running and working when we leave?
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yes. That's a big
Oh
one.
my goodness.
That's a big one for sure. I have an episode that answers the most frequently asked questions about moving day. And
Oh,
yes, don't forget the TV.
yeah.
That's a big one for
Don't
sure.
forget to drink liquids. Don't forget to eat.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. Because you don't want the hangry coming out. That's no, we don't all need the hangry. Yeah.
No. I feel like we've given a lot of really good tips today, but what would be your number one doable tip for families?
I guess I would say my biggest tip is start in a space that doesn't have a lot of emotional tethering. What is something you need to declutter that isn't of a high importance? It needs to be done, but I don't have a hang up with the things in that space. I'd start there. Start simple, start with things that don't have a lot of emotional significance.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Transitions, specializing in assisting older adults and their families with a low-stress moving experience. They understand the unique challenges that seniors face. And for Monarch Transitions, assisting you, well, it's personal. Find their information in today's show notes. Check out this episode's doable download in show notes for details, including industry terms and definitions we discussed, as well as a bonus tip from our guest. Have questions or your own tips to share? Leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, make it doable.